I gotta be honest, folks. I am not the biggest fan of most subsystems in Pathfinder. Many of them boil down to just being victory points or extended skill challenges, and I would love to be offered a little bit more of mechanical structure than just make skill checks, count points, yay, you're done. However, there are a few subsystems in Pathfinder that offer the right amount of structure to me and do a good job of emulating a specific type of fiction. The infiltration system is one of them. In today's video, I want to show you how infiltrations work, how you prep for them as the GM, and give you some tips on how to run them. If you enjoy podcasts and want to see this system in action, go and check out Tumble Through's recent flashback episodes. In these 2 episodes, you witness a group of level 0 characters performing a daring heist in the city of Westcrown. While the episodes reference events from the main show Twilight's Edge, you don't need to have listened to any of it in order to enjoy this little side story. Of course, if you do find yourself enjoying those episodes, definitely listen to our main show Twilight's Edge, where we are being led by our GM Crefo Bernal through his 2nd edition adaptation of Council of Thieves. You can find Tumble Through on your favorite podcast platform. Links are in the description below. Let's start out with the basics. Infiltrations are described on page 196 of the GM Core. This subsystem is meant to run scenes in which the PCs have to use their guile and stealth to enter a place unseen and reach their objectives without drawing too much attention. Each infiltration consists of a number of components. The PCs will have to overcome a set of obstacles to reach their goal. To overcome an obstacle, they will have to perform skill checks to gather infiltration points. If they roll badly, they will gain awareness points. The more awareness points they have gathered, the harder the obstacles become and the higher the risk they are discovered. Complications and opportunities further provide twists to the infiltration, the former by causing additional problems, and the latter by providing the PCs with chances to more easily accomplish their mission. The PCs will have to overcome all the obstacles between them and their objective before they accrue too many awareness points, which would cause their infiltration to fail. When you prepare an infiltration as the GM, start by deciding the infiltration's objective and figuring out how long of an infiltration you want this to be. Is this a quick heist of a minor noble's house? Or are the PCs going deep undercover in a cult to gain access to a vault that contains a dangerous artifact they need to acquire? The objective informs what kind of obstacles the PCs will face, and the length dictates how many obstacles they have to overcome. A short infiltration might only require them to overcome 2 or 3 obstacles before reaching their objective. A longer, more complex one, however, might have as many as 10 obstacles and even multiple objectives. Once you know what your objective is, it is time to design your obstacles. Obstacles are the challenges the PCs have to face. Each obstacle has its own stat block that briefly describes the flavor of it, and then lists a number of skills under the Overcome entry. PCs can perform the listed skills to try and overcome the obstacle. A success gains them 1 infiltration point, and a critical success even 2. Failures, however, will get the PC's awareness points, so let's talk about those. Awareness points measure how aware the opposition is of the PC's infiltration attempt. While infiltration points are measured per obstacle, awareness points are tracked across the entire infiltration. They do not reset between obstacles. At certain thresholds, the infiltration becomes harder, either due to all DCs increasing or because of a complication occurring. If the final threshold is reached, the infiltration fails. The number of awareness points thresholds and the total amount of awareness points PCs are allowed to gather before failing the mission depends on the length of the infiltration. The GM Core provides an example setup for an infiltration in which the players have to gather 10 infiltration points across multiple obstacles. This example has the PCs fail the infiltration at 20 awareness points and has 3 other thresholds before that. Generally speaking, the fewer awareness points PCs are allowed to gather, the harder the infiltration will be. Sometimes, things go smoother than expected during an infiltration, and those moments are represented by opportunities. Opportunities are similar to obstacles, but they do not require the PCs to gather infiltration points. Instead, they offer a chance to acquire some other benefit. They might lower the amount of awareness points, provide bonuses on future obstacles, or net the PCs some new items. However, some opportunities include risks, and failing their check could turn them into more of a complication. Talking about complications. Complications are also a part of the infiltration subsystem. They usually occur when someone rolls a critical failure or when the PCs reach a certain awareness point threshold. They provide a challenge that has to be overcome first before the PCs can tackle the other obstacles. Some complications only affect specific PCs, while others hinder the entire party. To summarize, an infiltration has one or more goals the party has to achieve. To get to them, they have to face a number of obstacles. During these obstacles, they gather infiltration points to beat them, but also awareness points. The party needs to reach their infiltration's goals before they max out on awareness points. Opportunities provide chances to make the operation easier, while complications are additional challenges that further, complicate the infiltration the PCs are performing. Of course, no infiltration is complete without the main characters having a montage of how they prepare for their mission. We want to see them bribe guards, fake passports, prepare disguises, and all the other good stuff we know from spy and crime fiction. Pathfinder's infiltration subsystem represents these through edge points. Before the PCs start their infiltration, they spend time preparing and gathering these edge points. The GM decides which kind of activities the PCs could attempt to gather edge points, and how much time they have before they start the infiltration. For example, the GM might say they have 3 days to prepare, and can perform one preparation activity per day. The GM core outlines examples of these activities, but what they all boil down to is that PCs can perform certain checks to gain an edge point. The edge point can then be used during the infiltration to turn a failure or critical failure during an obstacle or complication into a success. You can imagine that making sure your players have access to a number of edge points will allow them to compensate for bad rolls, but allowing them too many of them will make the infiltration way too easy. Most edge points are universal and can be spent whenever a player wants to turn a failure or critical failure into a success. However, some edge points might only be used under specific circumstances. If the PCs, for example, gained an edge point by forging documents, that edge point won't help them unlock the door that leads to the cult's secret basement. So, now you know how infiltrations work. Let's talk about how to get the most out of the system. What follows are a few suggestions, which should help you build and run your sneaky infiltrations. When planning your infiltration, having a clear picture of the goals and length of it is vital. Shorter infiltrations with just one goal and a number of obstacles are pretty easy to run. But if you are planning to provide your players with a massive heist, be prepared to create more than enough obstacles, complications, and opportunities. Keep in mind that PCs can split up and focus on different obstacles, which means you might have to run separate scenes. This is an opportunity, however. You could switch back and forth between various party members dealing with an obstacle, each of them unaware of how the other is doing. As mentioned, having enough opportunities and complications prepared is important. The longer your infiltration, the more of them you will need. While you can prep fixed situations on when to offer them, you could also keep a few ready to bring into play depending on how things are going for the PCs. If the infiltration is going a bit too smooth, throw in an unexpected complication to add some spice. Do the players have terrible luck and are the dice against them? Give them an opportunity that could bring down awareness points and reinvigorate their spirits. I'm not saying to be punishing or soft with your players, but sometimes you have to adjust fate just a little bit to keep things fun for everyone. Awareness points and their thresholds are your number one tool to slowly ramp up the pressure. Usually, the party is allowed awareness points equal to twice the number of infiltration points necessary for the party as a whole to overcome all necessary obstacles. If you want to make the mission harder, you can lower the maximum awareness points the PCs are allowed to reach, or make the punishments at certain awareness point thresholds more severe. Keep in mind that increasing DCs during the infiltration after reaching certain thresholds is a death spiral, as higher DCs means the PCs are more likely to fail, and thus get even more failures and awareness points. Make sure to include opportunities that can lower the total amount of awareness points. Consider also what should happen if the PCs fail the infiltration. Will the guards find them, and do they have to make a desperate stand against an overpowering number of enemies? Will you lead into the chase subsystem to see if the PCs can escape? No matter what you choose, having something prepared for the worst-case scenario is very important. My final suggestion is heavily inspired by this little tabletop RPG you might have heard of called Blades in the Dark. As mentioned earlier, edge points can be earned through preparation activities. But what if you skip those and just gave your party a number of edge points for free? Instead of tying those edge points to certain activities, flavor them as flashbacks. When a player uses an edge point, ask them to describe how their preparation caused them to have just the thing for this role. For example, if they fail during an obstacle picking a lock, the flashback could show how they actually acquired a copy of the key from a guard, which they now use to open the door. This approach does allow you to get faster to the infiltration part and gives your players some fun narrative control. While you're at it, you should definitely go and play Blades in the Dark if heists are your thing. No way in hell the infiltration subsystem even gets close to how great Blades in the Dark does this stuff. Go play it. Life is short. Play more games. And that's how you prep and run infiltrations in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Once again, if you want to listen to an amazing example of this system in action, check out the Tumble Through flashback about Lowen's crew, and feel free to listen to other fantastic stories told by Tumble Through. Links are in the video description. Have you used infiltrations in your game, and if so, what did you enjoy about them, or what would you tweak in the future? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, take care, and bye-bye.